What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Honor Among Thieves. As always, your host, Nelson Rodriguez Jr., author, creator, director, everything under the sun of the show. Today, I have a very special guest for you all the way from Boston, Mr. Devin Donovan. What's up, brother?
So say goodnight to the bad guy.
You looking at the bad guy. This the last time that you ever see a bad guy like me. You don't have the guts to be who you wanna be.
What's up, bro? How are you?
What's going on?
Not much, man. Grateful to be here. Thank you.
Fresh off the Locked In podcast.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. Just did the Locked In with Ian Bick, and yeah, man. I'm happy to be on this too.
It's exciting stuff.
Honor Among Thieves. It's awesome. We were talking about it earlier. It's awesome.
Man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I was on Ian's podcast a year ago now. Wow. Yeah, last March.
Wow.
That's when I met him initially, and he's built a really cool atmosphere here.
100%.
He's built a space where people from all walks of life love coming here to create and learn from him and kind of follow in his footsteps, really.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I seen what you guys were, talking to you and Matt, and it's a great thing, man. What you guys are doing with the content, and I'm trying to follow suit, and learn, and that's how you get better in life, is you surround yourself with people. That have done it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
100%. You gotta, what's that old adage? Like, you are the 5 people you hang around the most, or
yeah,
whatever?
100%. You want to be you could be either like the 5th millionaire, the 5th broke dude, or, whatever. So
100%.
Yeah.
So you got a podcast, right? Tell me about it.
Yeah. It's called the Lace Up Podcast on YouTube. We just started out. The new year, 2025. We're about 9 episodes in right now, but mainly we're just promoting recovery, any type of adversity. We've had people on that been through prison, people that have struggled with addiction for years and that are sober now, and giving back to the community, and really just giving people a voice, and letting people know that if you're struggling, if you need help, my phone's always on for anybody that's struggling, man. And we're passionate about helping people and trying to make a difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can totally relate. I get it.
Yeah.
This podcasting has given me purpose like never before, bro. And it's really set my soul on fire. Like, this is my happy place when I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I could do this forever.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So I can relate. And it's cool how podcasting can be used as a vehicle to help different people in different situations,
100%.
Like, in my case, I like to help people who just got out or, have a past and want to talk about it. You really get to know who they really are.
Yeah. We were saying, man, we're still good people. You know what I mean? I say that all the time.
100%.
We're still good people. Sometimes it's wrong place, wrong time. Sometimes we make bad decisions. Sometimes, there's a lot of different circumstances and situations we got ourselves into, man. But at the end of the day, look at what we're doing now, right? We're not in a jail cell.
Right.
I'm not drunk or high. I'm not in a jail cell. Life's pretty good, man.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
That's starting off on the right track.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
So, my brother, you're originally from Boston.
Correct. Well, I'm from Lowell originally, but I've lived in Boston probably the last 10 years.
Okay.
So,
Where's Lowell?
Lowell is about 45 minutes north of Boston.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
even colder.
Yeah, even colder, dude. It's going towards the New Hampshire border. If anyone listening is familiar with the Fighter, Mickey Ward, Dickie Eklund, that's where they're from. Bean Shooter, also from there. Bounced around a lot as a kid. I grew up in Dracut, bounced around back and forth between Lowell, Dracut. My father, living with my dad, living with my grandmother. Stayed with my grandmother most of the time though, because my father My father was incarcerated. My father was addicted to drugs, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Is that a common thing in like that part of the country? Like a lot of people getting in trouble, getting into drugs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't know, man. I guess it's like all like you know, maybe I attract to it. Maybe I attracted towards the trouble. You know what I mean? I was kind of saying that on Ian's thing. Like it was like attractive, man. Like I watched Goodfellas with my father for the first time. I watched American Gangster with my father for the first
Yeah.
time, and like I wanted to be like a bookie. I wanted to gamble. I wanted to sell drugs. Like all that, that false narrative that like that was what like being a man was. You know what I mean? And
In my case, it was Scarface. I'm Cuban.
oh
I'm
no
born
shit.
and raised in
Yeah,
Miami. So
yeah.
in my
Al
case,
Pacino.
yeah, no, it was Tony
Yeah.
Montana.
Yeah, yeah.
To me, it was like I knew I didn't want to kill people and shit, but I was like, man, I want to be like that guy. I want to be a badass. you know?
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. 100%, bro. And I think it's so like I said, I kind of attracted towards like, people that
How young were you when you kind of were like, all right, I'm about this life? You know?
I'm about to, how young was I don't know. Probably like 12 or 13, man. When I was like, I don't
You were a
know.
kid.
I was probably like fucking selling Lunchables on the playground or something stupid. Something stupid, dude. Trying to hustle.
Yeah, but that's how you make your bones.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, doing something to, hustle and, I was never, I always say, they say monkeys can't sell bananas. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I started, part of my stories. I started using more than I was selling, and that happens to a lot of people. You know what I mean? And that was definitely the case with me. But yeah. So
Any particular drug specifically?
using or selling?
Both.
Yeah. So I was using. Mainly used heroin and cocaine. IV. I was an IV user. But I also, I was into like selling coke, selling pills for a while. My.
All this was as a teenager?
Yeah, as
Wow.
a teenager. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I started doing heroin at 17, 18 years old. Yeah, I started doing it and selling it a little bit too. But yeah, I went to school in a nice area, right? Because I wanted to play basketball in college and all this stuff. I still had like, I was almost living a double life, you know what I mean? Because I was saying to Ian, I could fit in with any crowd, you know what I mean? I could fit in with people that sold drugs. I could fit in with people that did drugs. I could fit in with people that played sports. It didn't matter, right? I could be whoever I thought you wanted me to be, you know what I mean? And like a chameleon. And yeah, so where was I going with that? Yeah, I was selling. I went to a nice school, and I would sell, the rich kids, all the perk 30s,
Like
and
stereotypical rich kids doing drugs?
yeah, stereotypical rich kids doing drugs, man. They'd pay like double the price of what I'd, double or triple the price I'd get them for, and it worked out until it didn't. You know what I mean? Until until it didn't.
Everything works until it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
So yeah.
So that was like high school?
Yeah, it was high school.
Okay, and you said you were bouncing back between like living with your dad, the grandma.
Yeah. So
What about your mom?
yeah, my mom ended up back in so right around my dad ended up passing away in when I was 18 years old. He passed away to a drug overdose. My mother just wasn't really around, but at that time, like, she ended up meeting somebody, and she ended up moving to Australia. So
Wow.
she just recently came back when I had my kids. She came back, but yeah, it was just like a lot of in and out. You know what I mean? A lot of in and out.
Did your mother have trouble with drugs and that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
Okay.
My mother was an addict too. Yeah, I meant to mention that, but yeah. So my mother and father, man, both being addicts, like really, I don't want to like use it as an excuse, but it affected me. It definitely affected me.
My father's an addict too, so I
Okay.
completely understand.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think anybody that has like if you understand it, you understand it. If you've been around it, you get it.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's tough because he's your father and you want to love him and you want to help him, but you know that that shit just has a hold on him,
Yeah.
like it's like the
Yeah.
devil's fangs, bro. You know what I mean?
100%.
And
100%.
I feel you.
Yeah,
Trust me.
it's
And
powerful.
and I'm really sorry that he died at 18, bro. That's,
Thank you.
That's terrible.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hearing stories like that makes me grateful because
Yeah.
he's still in my life and he still tries to be like, at least he tries to
Yeah.
kind of call me every once in a while, see
Yeah.
how I'm doing.
Of course.
So it makes me grateful because my dad could have died when I was 18,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So it's
100%.
and even that, like, there's kids who never meet their dad. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
so it does. I always try to be positive, stay grateful.
Yeah. It's all about
you know.
perspective, right? Yeah.
And I think if not, and maybe you feel the same way. I think maybe because of what I had to experience with my dad as a kid, it'll make me a better father.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. 100%.
Now that especially since you have kids now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah. Gives you a whole new purpose, man. Having kids is the best. You're a father too, you said?
Not yet.
Okay.
But I hope to be a father.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, man, it's for sure. I definitely am, like, you know, as much as like I was really upset and like pissed off when he died, like you know, it took me a while, but I eventually accepted it and, you know, realized that, you know, there's not much I could have really done to change what happened with him, and there's not much I could have changed really with anybody else except for me. You know, I still, if I could go back and change some of the decisions I made back then, I absolutely would, you know, but right now it's just like, you know, you gotta, once you realize like what problems you have and what you're dealing with, it's like, all right, now that I know, right, I'm responsible to you know, not go back to that life,
Right.
you know. So
did his dad like dig you deeper into crime and drugs?
yeah, for sure. You know, I was only 18, so I had never been, you know, I'd been arrested once before he died, but I'd never been incarcerated. I never stuck a needle in my arm up until after he had passed away. So I'd never been homeless. All that stuff happened after he had passed away. So yeah.
So how soon after he dies do you start getting in trouble and that kind of stuff?
Probably within like 6 months. Yeah,
Right after.
Yeah,
Holy
right
shit.
after, dude. Right after. Yeah, right there. I went to a halfway house in South Boston. I stayed there for like 5 months, and then I ended up getting out, and I was homeless for a couple of years, and I ended up I got a possession charge in Lowell, Mass.
So you ended up in a halfway house after serving time?
No, I didn't serve time. I did. I didn't serve time. I got arrested my senior year of high school.
Okay.
That was my first
Oh,
arrest.
so you were 18 already?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Alright.
So that was my first arrest. First arrest, senior year of high school. I had ate a bunch of Xanax the night before and thought it would be a good idea to rob this kid, and he ended up telling on me.
Shit.
The school cop ended up
What, the kid was like another drug dealer?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was kind of crazy too. Like I don't know. I knew he wasn't gonna do nothing, so I just like walked up to his car. I took the money, took the weed. Like didn't hold no weapon, no nothing, and
Fearless, just no
yeah,
fear.
yeah. So that was probably the time when I was like, yeah, I'm about it. You know? I was
Going back to my question, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's when I was like, yeah, I don't give
Fucking, I'm about this
I don't
life.
give a fuck, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, like, and that's, you know,
Bro, every time I hear a story where I was like, man, I just didn't give a fuck.
yeah,
It ends bad, bro.
yeah,
It's so bad.
100%, bro.
Fuck, man.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
Fucking.
So you robbed this drug dealer kid, you get in
yeah,
trouble.
Yeah.
What was the official like charge on the police report?
You
You don't remember?
Shit,
That's cool.
I ended up getting larceny over at the
Okay,
time. I got him. Yeah, at that time, larceny over. It was $250 larceny over.
Okay,
and
okay.
It's changed since then. At least in Massachusetts, it has. But yeah. So I got hit with larceny over, which is a felony. But I ended up like going to my first adolescent behavioral detox, whatever. And like you know, they send me there. They wanted to expel me for that incident because they, you know, the school officer was the one that ripped me out of English class and arrested me. And yeah, so I ended up like going to this place saying I had a drug problem, and they, you know, gave me a slap on the wrist, and they're like, "Oh, well, you're not allowed back on school property, but we'll let you graduate. We'll give you a diploma," and that's what ended up happening, and I ended up just getting probation for that. I got like the kid didn't show up to court, and you know, it was my first charge, so I got lucky with that.
So you end up in the halfway house?
Yeah,
right?
I ended up in the halfway house. After the halfway house, yeah, that's you know, that was like when the first seed was planted,
Right,
so to
right.
speak, right? Like of like, wow, there is like a better way to live, right? Like I could, if I really wanted bad enough, like I could get clean right now and stay clean. That's not my story, but you know, I was saying earlier, like that was the first kind of any type of fun I had had in a long time. You know what I mean? Because, you know, I saw a lot of good people, man. I met a lot of good people. We were doing fun things, man. You know, just almost like reliving that childhood that I
Right.
never had or always
Right.
wanted. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it was like.
All right. So you get out from the halfway house. How do you end up homeless?
So I left that halfway house, and I decided, you know, I just decided that, you know, my family obviously didn't want me, you know, doing drugs, and they didn't want that under their household, and I wasn't willing to stop, and that clashed, and I was kind of just.
Was there a confrontation with your grandma and that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I was like, you know, I was like, listen, I was like, you know, you know, I want to get clean, or, you know, there was still times where, like, you know, around this time, like, she probably would still let me, like, stay here and there, but, you know, I'd be fucked up, and she'd kick me out, and whatever, and, yeah, so, yeah, eventually it just ended up becoming, like, too much, and I didn't want to deal with, like, you know, and part of me too, like, you know, I thought I was only hurting myself, you know what I mean? But like she was always like, especially after my dad too, like she was always like waiting for that phone call, like, you know, like didn't know what was gonna happen, and you know, it was
She was your dad's mom?
yeah, so I was close with my dad's mom and my mom's mom. So yeah, both I'm like you know, instead of a mama's boy, I'm a grandma's boy. You know what I mean? Like
Grandmas are the best, man.
Yeah, they are the best, dude. I don't know where I'd be in life if it wasn't for those two women. You know what I mean?
Are they still around?
Yeah, they're still around.
God
Yeah,
bless you, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I both my grandfathers have passed away.
Oh wow.
One of my grandfathers that I was really close with actually died while I was doing time.
Oh man, that's tough, bro. I'm sorry.
It's the fucking worst, bro.
Did they let you go?
No. Oh, no. That wasn't gonna happen.
Oh man.
He actually died like a week before I got out, bro.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's terrible, dude.
And
terrible. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, man. Thank you. It sucks because fuck, man. I'm not like a religious guy. I believe in God, and I believe that things happen for a purpose. But when I was on, when I got sentenced and the fucking judge dropped a hammer on me, the only people in the courtroom were my grandfather and my mom, man.
Yeah, wow.
So like, and you don't understand like what he did because he was already like his heart was giving out.
Yeah.
He was passing out on the way up to the elevator, like walking through the court. He had to sit down, and like the U.S. Marshals were like, "Bro, do you need us to call?" Like he's not looking good. He was pale, and he would tell me in Spanish, "Listen, fuck that. I'm going to the courtroom." Like, and he's like, "We're helping him walk and shit."
Yeah,
you know. And that was like one of the last times I got to speak to him was him like willing to die to be there for me in court.
Wow.
You know, it's yeah, man. So it fucks with me to this day.
Yeah, of course.
But somehow, like, I was at peace because I felt like I almost felt like God before I went to prison. He was like, "Man, it's all right, bro.
Yeah,
you're not gonna see him anymore, but you know, say goodbye, give him a hug."
Yeah,
and that's kind of how it ended, you know. And I was okay with it. I'm at peace with it. I've had to, because of my own fuck ups, I wasn't able to be there with him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's life.
Yeah,
you know?
of course,
so
man.
Moves on.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I feel you. My grandparents have played a heavy role in my life. All four of them.
Yeah.
My grandma, she's got Alzheimer's.
Okay.
So she has trouble like remembering stuff, but she never forgets me.
Wow.
I walk in the door and she's like, "Oh my God, my grandson." You know, she big smile on her face every time she sees me. So yeah, she put up with a lot of shit when I was a kid, man. You know, that kind of shit.
Yeah,
so,
God bless them, man. The shit we put them through,
yeah. I think in every culture too. It doesn't matter if you're American, wherever. Like grandparents are like so special, you know.
Yeah, no, of course. I think it's cool too. Like, you know, talking about the culture thing, right? And it's like, Cuban, Irish, Italian, like it doesn't matter. Like I feel like every culture kind of got like that, got like whether it's like the cartel or like the Irish mob or
Yeah.
the Italians or black, Spanish, like it's just every culture's got like its thing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like
Yeah.
there's good and bad to everyone, you know what I
Everyone,
mean? For
pretty
sure.
much.
So
So all right, so you get, your grandma's kicking you out for obvious reasons.
yeah, she's
Um,
kicking me out for obvious reasons.
So this is what, your early 20s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, early 20s, probably about 20 years old.
Okay.
About 20 years old. IV heroin addict. living on-
Habitual, like criminal? Like are you breaking the law at this point?
Yeah, so at this point, I had gotten I ended up getting 2 possession charges.
Okay.
So I got 2 possession charges. One was out of Lowell, one was out of Lawrence. I ended up doing some time on the second possession charge. I got a little bit of time on the first one, went to a halfway house, got out, did the same thing, another possession charge. And then I was also saying, I ended up, and this is kind of crazy, is I got hit with a breaking and entering. I got hit with a breaking and entering in Framingham. I wasn't actually the person to do it, which is crazy.
Wow.
Somebody thought it was me because, I'd run around that area,
Right.
whatever. It's something I would do. So a lot of people didn't believe me, and I had to fight that in court, and I got picked up on a warrant for that. It was a whole shit show, man. I couldn't. I thought it would just go away quick because like I had proof that like I was in treatment and blah blah blah, but
Right.
it didn't. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. And I think there's a lot of people that are.
You think that was like a karma thing?
It could have been. It definitely could have been. Yeah, because and I said earlier, there's a lot of things, man, where I could easily be in prison. You know what I mean? Like I don't, I'm not like this tough, crazy motherfucker, but like when I'm under the influence of drugs and alcohol, I've done some crazy shit, and it turns you into somebody you're not. You know what I mean? And that looks different ways for everybody. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think it could have been karma for sure. I mean, I've done a lot of things, man. I've lived a lot of different lives. Like I should be dead 10 times over again. I've literally overdosed like 10 or 11 times.
Wow.
So that's crazy.
You've overdosed 10 or 11 times throughout your life?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody who's overdosed 10 times.
Yeah.
Count your blessings, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So yeah, dude. It's crazy. And like, like it obviously like it, I don't have I obviously have to put my pride aside, like saying that, you know what I mean? It's kind of like an embarrassing thing, It's been times where it's happened.
You're here for a reason, though.
Yeah, of course, man, of course. And I believe that now, you know what I mean? So, going through my story, like it wasn't always that way, man. There was times where I wanted to die, you know what I mean? Times where I didn't think I had a purpose or anything to live for. And,
I feel you on that one, bro.
You know how it is, like growing up, especially, if you have a father, a father that's an addict or if you're getting into trouble, it's like, we don't
You don't
always
see the point. You don't see the point in anything.
No, we don't always believe in ourselves. We don't always think we're worth it, and we just say fuck it. You know what I mean? And yeah.
So you catch that possession charge, the breaking and entering. They end up pinning it on you for real.
Yeah. So,
all right. So what happens?
So I ended up sitting in jail like during the pandemic. While that happened. And,
that sucks.
Yeah.
That was the worst time to be locked up, man.
It was fucking brutal, dude. It sucked. And they weren't...
County?
Yeah, Billerica. And they weren't... Yeah, it was out of Middlesex County. Billerica House of Correction, for people all over that don't necessarily know. And yeah, it sucked, man. You're in your cell like 23 hours a day. You're fucking on Zoom, like going to court, doing all these appeals, and like, here I am, like, I didn't do it, and be like, yeah, I know. Like,
sure.
You know what I mean? But like, people that obviously like, excuse me, people that were like my boys and stuff, like, you know, the kid that really did do it, God rest his soul, my buddy Jesse, you know, he passed away from an overdose. But you know, like, I ended up like having a friggin', I took it to trial, dude, and I ended up beating it, thank God. Because I had the paperwork, man. I don't know, I didn't have money for a good lawyer at the time, and honestly, at the time, man, it probably helped, like me being in there. Like I met some people, and I kind of learned that like I didn't want to go back there. You know what I mean? And like a lot of people do that, and they do go back, and that was the last time I was there. Luckily, as far as incarceration goes, you know, did I still commit crimes? Did I still do drugs? Yeah, absolutely. I just, you know, I ended up going back, thank God.
How long were you in there for?
I was there for like 8 months.
8 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 8 months of county. I mean, 8 months in the feds like I did was horrible, but
yeah.
8 months of county.
Yeah, I know. So my best friend did. My best friend was in the feds, and he
You know where he did his time?
Yeah, he was in Allenwood.
Okay.
And
I was in Coleman. I was in Central Florida.
okay, no shit. So, yeah, so Charlestown guy, you know what I mean? We'll have to hook him up with you.
Yeah,
for
man,
sure.
I'd love to.
We'll get him on. He does the podcast with me. He's my co-host. So, great dude. But yeah, he always says how the clientele in the feds is different. And
Yeah. All right, guys, taking a quick break from the podcast to talk to you about Gus Villa Jewelry. Yo, let's be real here for a second. If you're rocking plain jewelry in Miami, of all places, you are doing it 100% wrong, my boy. Step your game up with Gus Villa Jewelry, the plug for real Cuban link gold and silver chains. And of course, the cleanest Rolexes in all of Miami. This isn't factory made or watered down or any of that stuff. This is high quality, custom, handmade stuff that shines from here to the moon. It turns heads, starts conversations, and makes you look fresh. Gus has something that'll level up your whole vibe. And because you're locked in here with us at Honor Among Thieves podcast, you're getting a hookup. Use the promo code Montana at checkout. Get 5% off your entire order. That's right, 5% off. Go check them out at gusvillajewelry.com or pull up on them in the Diamond District down here in downtown Miami. gusvillajewelry.com. Again, that's gusvillajewelry.com. And tell them your boy Montana sent you. Gus Villa Jewelry. Now back to the podcast.
way different, you know.
Different kind of people. For
And
sure.
you know, I think it's interesting too because like I don't know, like I got friends that are locked up right now, you know what I mean, and shit, and like they still call me, and it's different though, bro, because like the way things are now is like, you know, at least like I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but in Massachusetts, you know, they'll give people Suboxone, methadone, and on top of that, like you can have tablets now, and it's just a little different than it was, you know.
Very
when I-
different,
You
yeah.
know, it really is. Like when my buddy gets pissed because he's like, it's like a glorified detox because you know it's like, you know, a lot of people are just I don't know, like you used to go in, you come out with that shine and like motivated, like I'm gonna change and things are gonna be different, and now like people are coming out almost worse than they went in, bro. Where it's like they're on
You got that
Suboxone or methadone or
It's crazy.
you know, all that shit, which, you know, we all know you could get drugs in jail anyway.
Yeah.
So it really just comes down to like what you want to do with your life, you know. But
This reminds me of one specific guy I did time with, man. My soul would just break every time I saw his face, man. I felt so bad for this
Yeah.
kid. There's a Puerto Rican kid named Motri.
Yeah.
Motri is like Little Monster. That's
Yeah.
his nickname. And I guess they called him that because whenever he smoked K2, bro, he'd turn into this like little
yo, K2
weird
is
dude.
crazy.
Yeah, and you
It's
wouldn't be able.
wild.
Mind you, I'm fluent in Spanish. It's my first language, and
yeah.
I couldn't understand a fucking word this guy was
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, and shit, you know, like
Yeah.
zombied out.
Yeah.
seriously.
Doing the Fetty Wap.
Yeah, bro. The fucking, yeah, with the
Yeah,
eye and shit. Yeah, bro. All that.
Yeah.
And I remember him like, there was nothing malicious about this guy.
Yeah.
You know, I just felt like he was hurting, you
Yeah.
know, and it sucked. It sucked to see him like that. I heard a little bit about his story, and he didn't have any family. His parents died when he was young,
Yeah.
and he was just a kid that ended up on the street, you know, and
Yeah.
it sucks,
It
you know.
is, man. It's
But yeah, that K2 and those prison drugs, bro, that's
Yeah.
some other shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's some other shit.
Yeah, for sure. My buddy was just telling me Hernandez loved that K2 up there, dude. But I fucking hated
Aaron
that shit.
Hernandez?
Yeah, he loved the
He used to
K2.
smoke K2 in
He
prison?
smoked K2
Oh
in
my
prison.
God.
Like, hey, like fucking big fucking, you know, he was you know, my buddy was saying, like, you know, he was in Shirley with him, and he was saying that he was getting high the way people wanted to get high in prison. You know what I mean? Because he had the money. You
That's
know what I mean? He
crazy.
had the money. So
That's wild.
yeah, it was definitely interesting. But yeah, man, I smoked that shit like, I don't know, I've a handful of times, maybe 5 times, because
Bro.
me being me, I'll try anything twice.
Wild.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's great.
Not once. I tried twice.
Twice. You know what I mean? Maybe 3 times.
That's crazy.
But yeah. So
Fuck, man. Aaron Hernandez doing K2.
I know.
Anyway.
Yeah,
Shit. That massive
that's
monster.
scary, bro.
That massive behemoth doing it,
Yo,
bro.
for real, bro.
And he's murder, like convicted murder, bro.
I know. It's crazy.
All right. So you're in county.
Yeah.
What's going on while you were in there? Like, are people supportive of you? Are you kind of on your own?
Yeah.
What's going on?
So people were definitely supportive of me. I had some friends, you know, friends that I met in recovery, family, people come to visit me and shit, you know, put money on my books.
You'd been to NA at that point? Once
yeah,
or twice?
I had a couple times
Okay.
outside, yeah. But, you know, yeah, for the most part, dude, I actually, like, you know, I did the right thing in there. You know, it was kind of like a transition in there, if you will. Because, you know, at first, like, you know, my father always told me, and a lot of people too, don't go in there trying to be someone you're not, right? Don't go in there on that gang shit, on that rah-rah shit, right? Because that might get you killed somewhere.
100%.
You know what I mean? Trying to be someone you're not. You know what I
100%.
mean? And, yeah, man. So I just, you know, I was tight with my celly, and, you know, we'd play whist all the time, and, you know, fights would happen and shit. But, like, I don't know, man. I kept to myself a lot.
What's whist?
Whist, it's a card game.
Okay.
It's cards. Like
that like a-
spades.
spades.
Similar to spades,
Okay.
little more difficult, but same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'd play that, and yeah, dude.
Is that like an up north thing? I'd never
it
heard.
must be, yeah, it must be. I've never been anywhere else, you know
Oh,
what I mean,
yeah,
as far
yeah.
as being locked up or
Feel
anything.
you.
So I don't know, but yeah, it must be. It must be. But yeah, we play cards and shit, and you know, I'd play basketball, walk the yard, and fucking, you know, when I could, like, that's the thing, is it fucking being in there during COVID, bro, was the worst. You know
terrible.
what I mean?
23-hour
it was-
lockdowns.
Yeah, it was definitely different during COVID, and it made me fucking, it made me realize, you know, like how valuable, you know, like having your freedom is, and having connection with people is.
Having fresh air.
You
you know.
yeah, like all that shit you take for granted, bro. Like, you know, and you know, like, I feel like everything I've been through in my life, bro, served a purpose and taught me something. You know, like I'm not. I do believe in God. I am spiritual. I'm not like religious. I wouldn't go that far. You know, I grew up with like religion and stuff around me, but through like my own trials and tribulations, like, I think I had to go through everything I had to go through to get to where I'm at.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Agreed, bro.
As far as jail, as far as drugs and alcohol, homelessness, you know, and you know, and like relapse is a part of my story, dude, but I just get up. I keep getting back up no matter what. And nowadays, like, you know, not everyone has that chance to get back up, because the drugs that are out there now are stronger and more deadly, and
Bro,
it's crazy.
with this fentanyl craze that
Yeah.
we're seeing now, this shit is nuts. It's scary.
Yeah,
It's a great time to quit doing drugs if you're doing drugs.
Yeah, 100%, man. Fentanyl is killing people, man. I see it all the time. Like, I have, you know, outside of my dad, I have so many friends, dude, like good friends, that I'm almost like numb to it, you know, and it's sad because I've been to a shit ton of wakes and funerals, man. And you know, I could have been one of them, man. Like I said, I've overdosed a lot of times, and thank God, you know what I mean? Thank God we're both here doing this, you know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing, man. Because I guarantee you, like, when I was behind the wall or when I was homeless, like, people weren't gonna be saying we'd be here doing a podcast, and they probably said the same to you. You know, there's people that doubt you and count you out, and you know, you gotta believe in yourself, and you know, prove them wrong. You know,
Boy, trust me. And it's like, it's not like the proof is out there that you're not gonna do these things, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're sitting in prison and you're just like,
yeah,
you know, you're trying to build a vision of what you want when you get out.
yeah,
It's like, man, I don't know.
yeah.
People who are in my situation don't end up making it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, all the
So-
time, dude. And yeah, they always go like they always use the statistics, right? Statistically speaking, you'll be here in 5 years. Statistically speaking, you'll be here in 10 years. It's
Yep.
like, man, fuck the statistics,
100%.
bro. We're trying to beat the odds. You know what I
100%.
mean?
If
So,
I can talk to anybody who's done time, has a criminal record, any of that shit, do not listen to a fucking word any of those people tell you about the
Yeah.
recidivism or any of that shit.
yeah,
That listening to that rhetoric and listening to that bullshit was what gonna land you back in jail, back
Yeah.
in trouble,
of course.
because the negative self-talk of like,
Yeah.
oh, this is all I know how to do.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough for anything
Yeah.
else. All that shit will come
Yeah.
creeping into your fucking
Yeah.
brain. Fuck that. Don't listen to anybody telling you that. You can live the life you want to live, bro. There's plenty of
Yeah.
examples of people who have committed
Yeah.
crime and gone to prison
Yeah.
and lived great lives after it.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
And,
So
you know, it's I get jealous of all these. You know, you see these rappers come home and they got their Cuban, they got the Rolls Royce waiting outside with their Cuban chain. And I'm just like, shit, bro. That was
nice.
not the case for me. You know
That
what I
would've
mean?
been nice.
But hey, like, you know, whatever. I was saying this earlier, dude. Whatever gets you through, man. Like everyone's time frame is gonna be different, right? Some people are gonna come home from the can and they're gonna be fucking, you know, they might not, you know, they might be fucking working at McDonald's, dude. Or they might be fucking volunteering somewhere, doing something like, or you know, trying to meet new friends and like surround yourself with new people. You might own a business in 5 years. You might own a business in 10 years. You might never own a business. Whatever, man. If you're doing something to better yourself each and every day, you know, breaking those bad habits, surround yourself with different people, being honest with yourself. I think that's really what it comes down to. If you're honest with yourself about changing and wanting to change and being open-minded and willing to do so, then the sky's the limit, bro.
I agree.
You know, sky's
Every
the limit.
day, and like you said, every day that you're not breaking the law, every day that you're not back in prison, you're not back in trouble, you're defying the odds.
Yeah,
You know, it's-
absolutely.
so
it's
I don't
a win. You know what
yeah.
I mean? Small wins, bro. You know, not every day has to be rainbows and butterflies. Like,
100%.
all right, I didn't break the law today. I didn't get high today. I didn't, you know, whatever. I didn't hurt anyone. I just chilled, ate some food, and fucking kicked it with the boys. Like, whatever, bro. It's a win. You know what I mean? It's a
100%.
win. So,
Yeah, for
Yeah.
me, that's what I see. You know, when I see a dude who just got out and he's working at, you know, he's a busboy at Flanagan's. I personally have a friend
yeah,
who did 12 years in Coleman Medium, and he started off with a fucking ankle bracelet on his being a busboy at Flanagan's,
Yeah.
bro. And I looked at him and I was like, man, I'm proud of that guy.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Because he could be on the street up to the same shit.
yeah.
You know what he told me? His name's my boy Freddie. What's up, dog? Freddie was like, bro.
Freddie.
Freddie was like, the other day I went to his restaurant to go eat. I go see him every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know. He was like, man, I don't have another bit in me. I did 12 years.
Yeah, yeah, word. 100%, bro.
You
Isn't
know?
that like an amazing thing though? Like, whether it's people like, you know, people you're locked up with or people you got high with, right? And seeing them sober or seeing them out of the
Yeah,
system,
man.
it's
It's
a
one of the
beautiful
best
thing,
feelings.
man, because it's like, yo, looking back on it, bro, I limited myself with my mindset. I limited myself thinking like that was all I'd amount to, bro. And like best case scenario, I'd like literally best case scenario, like I'd end up in prison for the rest of my life or I'd die from an overdose and like anything in between that, you know, like that's how I looked at it. And,
Right.
and today it's like, you know, I try to, I don't know. I try to be like a productive member of society, man. I try to give back to the community. I try to inspire people with the podcast, like you and Ian and Matt. You guys inspire me. It's
Thank you,
great.
brother.
It's great, bro.
That's the reason I do this.
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. So it's a beautiful thing, man. Like being able to just talk. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just talk and like
100%.
speak your truth. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, no filters.
at the end of the
You know?
day, yeah, no filters. You can't fuck up the truth, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm not the type to like, you know, I don't come on and come up with some bullshit
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
I'm not also like, you know what I mean? Like most people might not want to say that they've overdosed 10 times, but who gives a fuck, bro? It's not the person I am
Yeah,
today.
yeah.
You know what I'm
No,
saying?
but that's why people like podcasts, because people are just
Yeah.
having a conversation, you know,
Yeah, of
not putting up
course.
any facades or just being real.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Alrighty, brother. So you get out, you do your 8 months.
Yeah.
When around how old are you, or how long ago was this?
I was probably like 21. Yeah, 21.
Okay.
Almost 22 probably.
Was
Yeah.
this still during the pandemic or right after?
Yeah, it's still during. Shit went on for a while, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
So I ended up going to a halfway house in Somerville, Mass, which is right outside of Boston, right next to Charlestown, right outside of Boston. Went to the halfway house in Somerville. And that was like my first time ever having like any success in recovery. You know, I completed that halfway house. I ended up working in treatment. Later down the line, you know, I ended up putting together like 18 months sobriety. Almost 2 years. I was working in treatment. I was going to meetings every day, and you know, I started picking up new habits, man. I started gambling. I started, um, you know, hanging out with girls too much. I started, you know, my priorities kind of got fucked up. And, you know, I was saying earlier, like anything you put in front of your recovery, you know, you're going to lose, you know, and it's like,
I've seen that often with other addicts too, how they replace the habit with another
yeah,
habit.
of course.
You
It's a
know,
substitute, you know what I mean? It's a substitute. So, you know, I say it all the time, like, and it's true, like, I could fuck my life up without drugs and alcohol. You know what I mean? I fucked my life up gambling. I fucked my life up in relationships,
brother.
or, you know what I mean? Fucking spending too much money shopping, eating crazy, not taking care of myself. I mean, you name it, bro. So yeah, I stopped taking care of myself, man. And I went back out there, and it got bad, and it always gets bad in a short period of time. And you know, fast forward a little bit, I ended up having twin girls in 2023. I had twin girls, so that was a huge that was a huge motivation for me, and gave me a purpose. Like, I ended up putting like another year together around that time, having the kids, and then, you know, kind of same thing, man.
Life is
You know,
different when
yeah,
you have kids, man.
yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely is, bro. It definitely is, and like you talked about, you know, I wanna break the cycle there, man, and like be there for my kids full time, and you know, like and I, it's tough, man. Like I said, relapse is a big part of my story. So like there's, you know, for anyone that's listening, like if you've fallen back in life in any way, shape, or form, man, just get back up and keep going. You know what I mean? And stay consistent, because chances are, if you stay consistent and disciplined, you're not gonna fall off to begin with. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the thing, man. Is like I get complacent, and you know, I think keeping things like fresh too, and like having things to look forward to, and like goals and
100%.
milestones is like important, right?
That's a
Because
big one.
um anything in life can get like redundant and like monotonous, right? It's like it's just like the same shit over and over. So, you know, it's good.
Definitely. So when were the girls born? What year?
They were born August 31st, 2023.
Oh, my birthday's August 11th. That's cool.
Oh no shit. Hell
Yeah,
yeah. So
So you said you went a year and a half sober?
yeah, yep.
Okay. When is it that you relapsed the first time?
So I relapsed from like 2022 to probably probably like right before I got my girlfriend pregnant, pretty much, and then I got clean again while she was pregnant.
What caused, if you don't mind me asking, what caused that relapse? Like what happened?
Yeah.
Walk me through it.
No, I appreciate you asking. So to go back, I was helping out a friend. You know, a friend of mine who had also gotten sober, had also relapsed, and you know, they say like it's like called like a 12-step call, right? Like they say if you're helping someone um that's under the influence, you should probably have somebody with you, or have like a strong plan in place. And um you know, I think my motive and intention at first was like pure, like I just wanted to help him. He was like my boy, you know what I mean? I'm not the type to turn my back on nobody, bro, especially if you're my boy. Like my loyalty, you got my loyalty. But um yeah, I just like, you know, been helping him out and exposing myself to him all messed up. And you know, in the meantime, like I had been gambling a lot and working a lot, just burnt out, bro. And I just like had one of them like fuck it moments, you know what I mean? And then, you know, that came with probably the worst overdose I had was I split my head open. I split my head open, and I ended up,
How, like you fell and hit your head?
yeah, I fell, hit my head, split my head open, and I ended up I don't know, like I was out for so long before they had Narcan me. And like I had aspirated,
Wow.
like I'd thrown up, and like lucky, it was bad. I was in the hospital for like a week and a half, and you know, I was coughing up blood. I ended up with pneumonia and stuff. But yeah,
Wow.
it got bad, bro. It got bad, and then, you know, I met this girl, and yeah, so I bounced back from that. You know what I mean? I ended up meeting this girl, having the kids. But yeah, man, it's just, you know, it's important who you surround yourself with. And even though he was my boy at that time, it's like sometimes you gotta keep people at a distance, bro. You know, like um you can't let someone else fuck up what you got going on. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
100%.
you know, I think there's a lot of things that I've learned, you know, through this process. Is like, you know, I can't live dirty and stay clean. You know, like not everyone has a problem with gambling. I do. You know what I mean? I just kind of have like that personality that like, you know, anything that like gives me a rush, I like it. You know what I mean? So I stay away from those things, and I'm honest about those things. You know what I mean?
All right. So you meet your girlfriend, you get clean,
Yeah,
you have the kids.
yeah.
You said you put another year together
Yeah,
being sober?
I put another year together. Yep. Another year together. Everything was good, man. I had an apartment. I had just gotten into the union. Um, you know, having the kids was the best. But you know, I stopped going to meetings. Like that's the thing. Kind of there's like a ongoing pattern, right? Is all the things that I was doing to get me to this point, I like stopped doing. You know what I mean? That seems to be an ongoing pattern with anybody in like any type of recovery. You know what I mean? That has some type of relapses. You know, you know, like what works for me is you know, going to meetings, and I'm big into praying. I'm big into like, you know, everything happening for a reason. I'm big into connection, community, and you know, building a new network of people. You know what I mean? Because you can't hang out with the same old people and
100%.
same everything. You know what I
got that
mean?
right.
And you're probably gonna most likely get the same results you got before, if not worse.
Yep.
You know, so
100%.
so yeah, man. You know, yeah, I stopped doing those things, man, and then I ended up relapsing, and I ended up losing the apartment, and losing you know, losing my kids. Like court got involved, and I ended up, you know, I wasn't really, you know, too happy with my kid's mother at the time. It turned into like somewhat of a toxic relationship, and you know, I learned from that, man. I learned that like I wasn't gonna settle for certain things in a relationship, and I can't, you know, I was still doing things, man, like that I shouldn't have been doing, as far as like you know, living dirty and like getting money and shit like that. And you know, I thought like, oh well, a man provides, and a man, you know, I'm holding down the apartment, and I'm paying for this car and all this shit, right? But it's like I wasn't necessarily emotionally and physically like as present as I should have been.
So
for
you were
like
still kind of like stuck in that
yeah,
trap
yeah,
of like
yeah.
selling drugs and all that.
Stuck in that lifestyle. Yeah, man. I was like helping this dude out, and you know, doing these, you know, a couple different things for money, and drugs was one of them. You know what I mean? And yeah, it wasn't good, and it catches up to you. You know what I mean? It catches up to me. So that was like another valuable lesson that I learned, and you know, unfortunately, like that was probably, and I said to Ian earlier, that was like an emotional bottom for me. You know what I mean? Because all the other ones, like being homeless and being all this stuff, and like granted, like yeah, like I lost my apartment, but like I could have went and lived with family. I could have, you know, I still had the job. I still whatever, right? But emotionally being like, fuck, bro, like I'm doing the same thing my dad did. You know what I mean? And it's like, bro, it gives me, I don't know, life just comes full circle, man. And like it's crazy, and like, you know, I look at the situation totally different now, because you know, drugs and alcohol will make you do things and turn you into a person that you're really not deep down. And it's like, you know, you want to I think all of us want to be the best son, grandson, father, you know, brother, whatever, to our family. And you know, so that's what I try to do today, man. I just try to be available for the ones I love the most, and show up for them. And
Have you been clean since that last relapse?
yeah.
How long has it been?
Absolutely. Coming up on a year, dude.
A year?
Coming up on a
Okay.
year, yeah. So
And no trouble with the law, no arrest, no nothing.
no, nothing.
Good.
No trouble, no
Good to hear,
trouble. I go to meetings on a daily basis, man. I see my kids. I'm doing the podcast thing, which is that's like a whole nother like purpose too in itself. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Obviously, like I never like put that.
And you're recording it out of the sober house. That's
yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, we're doing it right out of the sober house, man. And yeah, I want to give a shout out to Eddie McGrath, to Rock and Recovery. They helped me out a lot, man, and they really separated themselves from all
Definitely,
the other
brother.
treatment places I've been to. So yeah, man.
Well, brother, you have my admiration. It's not easy to
Thank you.
kind of like move forward and keep trying to live a good life after you make mistakes.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
coming from another person who's made plenty of mistakes.
Yeah, same here, bro. Nelson, it's
Definitely.
been a pleasure, bro.
Of course, brother.
Yeah.
So I usually wrap up asking a couple questions.
Yep.
So first question is, what's next for you?
Okay. What's next for me, man? So I just started working in the recovery field.
Okay.
You know, mental health, all that. So I was talking to you a little earlier. I wanna do that, and along with the podcast, and you know, I wanna transition into having my kids again full time. You know what I mean, like full time. So yeah.
Definitely. All right. So how do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? I want to be remembered as someone who helped someone. You know what I mean? Somebody that was caring, somebody that you know, somebody that would just that made a difference. You know what I mean? That made a positive impact. I don't want to be remembered as the bad stuff. I want, you know, so from now forward, you know what I mean? I just want to keep doing positive things, man.
Yeah, it's one thing to change your own life and become a better person, but when you help other people, I think
Absolutely.
that's where the impact is.
That's the end goal. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So
Do you believe in redemption?
I do believe in redemption. I think I love an underdog story first and foremost. I love any underdog. You know what I mean? And I think that I don't know. I think that, you know, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get back up, bro. And I think as long as you're still breathing, you got a chance at life, bro. You got a chance at doing things different, changing the narrative, changing the script, and you know, changing how you're remembered. You know what I mean? You can change that. It's all in your control. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Do you think you've redeemed yourself?
I think I'm getting there. The karma's probably, you know, it's evening
weigh out
out.
the scales
Yeah,
for a little
it's evening out. You know what I mean? So yeah.
All right. Devin, this was great. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Hell yeah, bro. Thank you.
We'll stay in touch.
Yeah,
Definitely,
bro.
All righty, guys. That was another episode of Honor Among Thieves podcast with special guest Devin Donovan. Push it to the limit. The world is yours. If you're not chasing a dream, life is meaningless, guys. Say goodnight to the bad guy. That's how I end it.
Yo, that's fire. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
So say goodnight to the bad guy.
You looking at the bad guy. This the last time that you ever see a bad guy like me. You don't have the guts to be who you wanna be.